Welcome to the Dig Endurance Podcast, where we are all about digging deep and discovering the power of emotional resilience. I'm Aaron, and I'm joined by my brother, Sean.
As endurance athletes and business owners, we have learned a thing or two about facing and overcoming adversity. We are here to share inspiring stories from our guests that will help you to find that inner strength when you feel like you are running on empty.
Are you ready? Let's dig in.
All right, we're back on Dig Endurance Podcast. We've got Paul Watson, owner of Warrior Fitness, with us today. We're pumped. we're going to hear some good stuff today. Aaron and I read through some of his notes and some of his background, and it is challenging to say the least. Paul, welcome.
Hey, thanks, man. I'm really happy to be here.
Lay it on us, man. Give us the hit. Start at the beginning. Let's just jump right in. We want to hear. Start us, back in where you were raised, where you're from, and then just let's hear it.
I'm from the East Coast.
Before you do that, sorry, you live here in Fresno now,
right?
And you own and operate a gym currently,
correct?
Right?
Warrior Fitness.
Okay, so Warrior Fitness. That's what he does. I just want to real quick. So that's what he does currently.
Yeah,
cool.
He's going to go through that.
I just want to establish that,
Yep.
and then let's in town, live in Fresno. How long you live in Fresno?
2009, so
2009.
14 years.
Okay, 14 years. Own and operates a gym here called Warrior Fitness. And so from there,
Sure.
Start with your story.
From the East Coast, New Jersey, actually, Massachusetts, New York. I ended up on the West Coast because I went into the military, but there's kind of like a long story. But I ended up in the Navy SEAL program. I'm not a SEAL, but I did end up going through their training, and then I was attached to the SEAL teams as a tech. But there's a pretty interesting story about how that all evolved. There's post 9/11, which is when I actually got in, but there's a little bit of lead up to that too. Before all that, back in the late 90s, not too many people really know, but my journey actually started, I'd say, probably 1996, and I was at about 26 years old, and I decided I wanted to do something a little bit more for my life than just insurance. Not that there's anything wrong with people that do insurance, but for me, I just didn't seem like that was going to be fulfilling. And so I wanted to go military, and I thought something at maybe the tip of the spear would be where I'd feel comfortable serving.
I don't think many people
Be
would say
comfortable.
that.
That's good.
And the Navy SEAL program offered along with a lot of other ones I looked into, but the SEALs offered a program for officers. And in fact, actually, it was my best buddy who is a Green Beret commander. Back then, he was a Marines, and he's like, "Yeah, you ought to go for the SEAL officer program." I was like, "Do you think I can be on it?" He's like, "I don't know, but they do offer it for civilians." So turns out, and I don't know what the number is today, but back then they took 12 civilian men from around the country every year. And so I wanted to be one of those 12. And so I trained. I really wasn't a phenomenal athlete by any stretch, actually. I was very mediocre.
So you're like Sean. You're like a...
Sean is a badass. Sean, man, threw down some serious training. But I definitely was way below Sean's level or anyone that you might think. Extremely mediocre. But I was like, I'm just going to transform my body. And once I started training and then not settling for anything, it's just no matter what I got, I always was pushing to get better. And so, long story short, a year later, after training every day, I was pretty good. Usually twice a day. In fact, I really just dedicated my entire life, obsession for it.
Were you following a plan? Did someone give you a plan to follow over that year? Or did you just figure it out?
It was all trial and error.
Got it.
And
cool.
Turns out my best buddy just happens to be a world-class athlete, and he was the Green Beret commander, and he was an elite athlete. We didn't live together or in the same town. He was, I think, on the West Coast at the time, but occasionally I'd chat with him, and he gave me a pretty strong work ethic to follow, but it was all trial and lots of error. And I just started training twice a day. usually weekends 3 times a day. And a year later, long story short there, I contacted the SEAL officer program after training for a year, pretty much in solitude. I was like, yo, I'm ready to go. And they were like, okay, come on in. And we did a screen test with a bunch of other guys, and I came in first. And the SEAL officer recruiting commander said, that was pretty good. Can you come back next month? And what I found out was it wasn't like a single test, but it was actually sort of like a NCAA bracket that you go into.
Oh.
And the better you perform, the better the pool that you get evaluated against next.
Oh, yeah.
Gotcha.
So
Harder and
I
harder.
didn't know it was going to be a year long from there.
Wow.
So the SEALs had a cutoff point of 28. I was, I think, just about 28 at that. I was getting close to 28. So I may have already been 28 at that point. I think I was. So that was the age limit for the SEALs. So he was like, yeah, come back next month. Came back next month, won that event. And then he's like, come back next month again. And then it was a year long, just about.
How long are these events?
It's a standard Navy SEAL screen test, which is 500-yard swim, combat side stroke, or breaststroke.
Okay.
So it's an underwater stroke,
Okay.
not freestyle. Then 2 minutes of pull-ups, push-ups, sit-ups. I think in slightly different order, more like push-ups, sit-ups, and pull-ups. And then a 1.5 mile run in boots and pants.
Got it. So it's all done within a day.
It's all done within one after the other.
Got it. Okay.
And numbers that it was like a sub 8-minute swim was officer level, 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 25 pull-ups, and then the big thing was a run in boots and pants in under 9 minutes. Following all that, so I consistently got those and consistently won. And so at the end of the year, I got informally selected. It is informal because it was hey, you're our leading guy for the Northeast. You got to go to MEPS, which is the medical entrance processing, to get cleared. And I failed that.
Okay.
So I failed that because of my eyes. I did have poor eyesight,
Okay.
and I was pretty dumb and arrogant to think that I could just get an eye waiver, because I was like, what the hell, Paul Watson, right? So like, just give me an eye waiver, and they're like, hell fucking no, you idiot, I'm not giving you an eye waiver. And so it actually was a hard door closed. It was, there is no option here.
Yeah.
Thank you for wasting our effing time.
Gosh.
Have a nice life.
Yeah.
And moving right on.
And that was like 2 years of training.
Yeah, it was about 2 years.
Thanks for your hard work. Bye.
But the commanding officer for the SEAL program, he kind of liked me, and he called me up, and I was so happy to hear from him. And he was like, Watson, I got good news for you. The Navy just started accepting eye surgery. So if you go ahead and go get yourself eye surgery, then you can maybe get an eye waiver. So I was like, okay, great. He said, but you should be aware there is a 1-year wait. I was like, okay, but wait, you should be aware that I'm 28, sir. As a reminder, I think I mentioned my age already to you, and he was like, well, he's like, that may be a problem. But in the process of that whole long year already, with getting to be this leading officer candidate, I had already been kind of vetted somewhat and needing to do a few extra things on my own, like went down to D.C. and spoke with certain individuals to get them familiar with me. And one of them was called a detailer. A detailer is somebody that is kind of like a gatekeeper. And so these 12, going back a little bit into the story, the 12 men that are selected for the SEAL officer program, they're basically voted on by the selection committee. The detailer is the guy that gives them a group of maybe like 50 top guys.
Gotcha.
So the detailer would be the guy that has to kind of like get through things. So I'd already met him. He wasn't the guy that was going to be doing anything like making an official yes or no, but I had already met him that prior year just because I wanted to.
Yeah.
And so I called him up and I said, hey, Commander so-and-so, I can't remember his name, but here's my situation. I'm going to go for eye surgery, but as you know, there's a year-long wait, or that's what I heard. And as you know, there is an age limit. I'm going to be 29 in a year from now. If I keep training, blah, 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 well, do you think there's a possibility I'll get an age waiver? He said, I can't make you a guarantee, but if you keep training and keep pulling off these wins, everything else being equal, I'll give you an age waiver. And then it'll be up to the committee. So I went and did it. I put every penny I had on every debit card and got $5,000 PRK surgery back in the day. And got my 20/20 vision, got all other problems with my eyes cleared up, kept training, kept winning. A year went by, submitted my application, and I was rejected. I was like, oh, wait, this must be a formality. So I did what I needed to. I checked into it, like, nope, you're rejected. You're over the age. So I was like, okay, hold on. So I get on the phone, call up the detailer's office in D.C., and I was like, hey, can I speak to Commander so-and-so? And they were like, Commander so-and-so no longer works here.
Oh,
and we're not accepting any age waivers. It's a Navy-wide policy, no age waivers across the entire board. So, I mean, it's got kind of like ridiculous because I even got a congressman involved. My local congressman even petitioned the Navy to give me an age waiver. And like, no, sorry, congressman, he's not getting an effing age waiver. And I was like, damn, congressman got, smacked down. So anyways, that was pretty much the end
Strike
at that
two.
point.
Yeah.
I went to the Air Force for their Air Force pararescue program. And I was like, you know what, you guys are badass. I'd love to be part of your program, but I am a bit of an older guy. You know, I'm pushing 20. I'm almost 30, and they're like, we might be able to work with that. Are you in shape? Why don't you come on out? So I was like, I think I'll do okay. Just blew that out of the water. They're like, dude, can you sign up right now?
Okay.
I was like, you know what? I can. Yeah, I'll sign up right now. Signed the paperwork. They're like, okay, we're going to send you to MEPS. I was like, all right, I've been there before. So go down to MEPS. Disqualified because I had eye surgery. So the Air Force does not accept eye surgery, at least back in 1998.
Gosh.
So they're like, hey, man, thanks for applying.
Dude.
But, we can't do anything because you had eye surgery. So that was more or less, and I was like out of money. I mean, all of my work material that I had working for an insurance company and a marketing company was all like riddled with my training logs. It was all training. And so I really was kind of like not doing well in my job, to be honest with you. It was like, Watson, all you do is train. All you do is think about trading. And I was like, well, I can't argue with that. So anyways, long story short, I really wasn't advancing in my civilian careers. I didn't have a whole lot of money. And I started actually getting a phone call from some guys, though. And they're like, hey, this admiral from the SEAL officer program gave me your number. And he said, you might be able to help us prepare for the SEAL officer program. And I was like, yeah, I'd be happy to. But now I'm a trainer. And I just came up with that because I had like no money and I hated my job. And I was like, let me see about this. And so I started training guys remotely for the SEAL officer program way back when, and charging them ridiculous amount of money, like $2,000 for a remote program. And I was like, yeah, fly out to see me, or I'll fly out to see you for a weekend. I'll train with you for a weekend. You can stay at my place if you come to me. And from there, I know everything else to do once I train with you for a weekend. And it worked. I started getting clients from around the country. And I knew
Staying
exactly.
with you over the weekend.
Yeah, they stay with me on the weekend,
nice.
train with them, see where their weaknesses are, what they needed to improve, and I knew exactly.
And I guess see what they were eating too.
Yeah, and throw them
what they need to do.
throw them into impossible situations and see how they react, and I knew what to do after that. Anyways, long story short, that started my professional career that I'm now in now, but that started that.
Wow.
And as a civilian.
Wow.
And so, and I kind of liked it. I liked helping my neighbor, liked helping, some senior citizen or somebody with special needs, and loved helping, elite athletes. Yeah. And then professional men and women, I just was like, we're going to train. We're going to effing train. I don't know what the hell you've been thinking you've been doing, but we're going to train. Let me show you how to train. And I'm going to show you how to eat. I'm going to show you how to frickin' breathe, as silly as that sounds. When you start doing these things, your body becomes kind of like a machine. Yep. And so I became very successful in New York.
Wow.
And so I built up my own business. Elite Personal Training is what it was called.
Okay.
And doing great. And gave up the whole military thing. And it was just furthering my career and looking to build that. Thinking about maybe one day it'd be cool to open up a gym.
I'm sure you loved what you were doing.
I did.
Too.
I loved it.
This is it.
Yeah, I did. It was like, you know what? This is where God led me to, and I'm gonna help people with.
How many of those calls, like
what I get?
were you getting?
Not
like
many, and I didn't want many because it was so intricate.
I was gonna say. I mean, if you got people staying at your house for the weekend, I mean,
It was not on scale.
and that's time demand. Yeah, I was gonna say, how do you replicate that? Like that's.
I don't know. Maybe we can talk about a business plan if you want
Wow,
afterwards.
wow.
But I don't know. I'd still love to do that.
Dang.
But it was very, very involved. It was like, hey, let me work with you every single day remotely. And that's what we did. And so one of my guys, first name only, Spence, went to Princeton University.
Oh, okay.
Called me up. And it was right across, I lived in New York, so it was right across the George Washington Bridge. And I was like, well, you don't got to fly here, but, you can make the hour-and-a-half drive to see me on Long Island. We trained, but he was from Arizona. So he was Princeton student, New Jersey. But he was like, yeah, I go back to Arizona, after I graduate, which is in I don't know, whatever, it's a month or so. I was like, we're good. All I need to see is for a weekend, but... So he went back to Arizona, and we trained remotely. Not only did he get accepted for the SEAL officer program and pass, he graduated top of the class, honor man.
Wow.
So we trained every single day, 2 workouts a day, where basically I just wrote that up for him.
Wow.
And so that's the kind of level of involvement. I have loads of other success stories, but I kind of like bragging about my guy that graduated top of the class, buds. In any event, I didn't have a lot. It was one. It was like one or two at a time.
Yeah, like you said. I mean, that's all you could do with that kind of time. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I would help. My neighbor. I ran little ads in the newspaper. Training. I started learning marketing.
Okay.
Started learning how to market myself, and I started getting clients, and then mostly word of mouth.
Yeah.
And then 9/11 happened. And I was training all these guys for the military. And I was like, man, I got no kids. I'm single. I had been married earlier, but that didn't work out.
Okay.
So I was recently divorced. And not recently. The divorce happened earlier, but no kids, no commitments. I was like, I got to try to sign up somehow.
Sure.
And 9/11 was so impactful for me emotionally. And I was like, I'm just not going to stand here and be a trainer. I mean, I'm 30-something, but I think I'm in pretty decent shape. One of you guys got to freaking accept me. And they didn't want to. I did have some residual problems with my eyes, apparently, that MEPs and doctors were finding. And it was becoming an issue. And so 2001, 2002, and and I was just basically I couldn't get accepted. I still continued my job as a trainer and training guys as well for the military, but my goal was to somehow break down this door of you're either too old or your eyes are too jacked. And I was like, well, let me first of all keep trying. And so I did go back to, and long story short, I got accepted to BUDS, which is the School for Navy SEALs, in 2003. So at that point, I was 30. I got accepted. I didn't get there until I want to say maybe even 2004. And so I signed up in the beginning of 2005. So I went to BUDS at maybe 30. No, it was the winter class. So I was not 36. I was 35 when I went to BUDS in a winter class. So I get to BUDS. I'm 35. BUDS, the School for Navy SEALs, is amazing and incredibly hard. Lots of yelling. The yelling is no big deal. And there's lots of cold water, lots of extremely uncomfortable, like your body is just jackknifing because it's so cold. And you lived in a dorm that only had cold water.
Of course. And
I went there during the winter class.
The documentaries are all accurate. Obviously.
They are actually.
Accurate.
They are. I'm very proud of them. Very happy to see that they are really very good.
That's exactly how they describe it.
Yeah, and so yeah, BUDS was great. I could tell you some specifics if you want at some point, but bottom line is I didn't make it. I did get injured in what was called log PT. Dang. They asked me, would you like to be a tech for us? And we'll give you an invite back, which was a massive exception. I was already 35, going on 36 in a few months. My birthday's in April, so I was going to be 36, and they wanted a year to 2 years. So at a minimum, I was going to be 37 when I went back. But I happily took that. I was pretty freaking stoked, actually. I trained with the SEALs, deployed with them, and just got ready for BUDS again. Did not go back. Some other life situations came up. Okay. My son was born. My son's mom and I split.
Okay.
We did not have on good terms. She's from Fresno.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, well, if I want to be in my son's life, where the fuck is Fresno? So I made a decision, and
Here we are.
The decision was, as much as I love my military career and maybe a shot at history or whatever, or something that I'm going to love my son more. And so I got out of the Navy, rolled up here to frickin' Fresno right at the height of the housing crisis in 2009.
Wow. Yeah.
Good timing.
I was going to say that might be kind of a good time to find housing here compared to other times.
Well, I mean, I wasn't worried about housing. I was more worried about job.
Sure. Because everything that you knew, like your whole network was on the East Coast, and you just came out west.
Yeah. I mean, and I had not only myself, my son, and legal bills.
Yeah.
Like insane, stupid, massive legal bills.
Awesome.
Because it was a very, very ugly, and I don't want to get into negative things about my son's mom, but let's just say it was excessively difficult, excessively stupid.
We've had a divorce lawyer on our podcast. It's
excessively.
Okay. We understand.
Yeah.
Like, I can't use a strong enough word
to
describe the stupidity. And nevertheless, it was extremely, it cost me everything I had. So, and I had no job. So that was the next chapter.
Okay. So you're in Fresno, military. So like you finally
military special ops.
So this time around, this is what, time 3 or 4, you finally get the exception, which it maybe feels like a little bit like the bridge has finally been extended. Like, okay, there actually finally is a path. And then son is going to be born, and it's like, and I respect your decision. I mean, you chose to man up and be a father, which but once again, like, the military was yanked, and
it was the career was,
and that's hard. But here you are.
Yeah,
coming
I
to
have
Fresno.
no regrets.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, none. I'm like incredibly thankful, including for all the bad shit that's you're about to hear about too. But no, and
Yes.
just to correct something, if you don't mind, you said the military wasn't taken from me. My career was. I did have the military, and I am very proud of that.
Good.
So I still always have that in my makeup and my background. So I am very happy.
Yeah,
with
yeah.
that.
No, that and I.
But just
that
the
makes
career
sense.
future was.
Yeah.
But I have, no doubts about it. And it was, my opinion, obviously the correct thing to do. Fathers need to do the right thing.
Okay.
And that's why I was happy
so
to do that.
You came here.
You're
had legal bills on every front.
Yeah.
And you're in.
And I was like, what am I going to do?
You're in paradise here in Fresno. All right. So
yeah, it's not exactly Coronado Beach.
Paradise.
Hey, but you're only a couple hours from
That's
the
true.
beach. So
We have warm water in Fresno.
So I was like, you know what? I am a law and order guy. I was like, let me get into the police academy. And they're like, hey, we're all filled up. We don't have any spots.
Gotcha.
I was like, that's okay. You can just let me in anyways. And they're like, no, we have no more spots. We're all filled up.
Gosh.
I was like, no, let's get one more spot for me. I talked them into it. They let me in. It's like, there's no guarantee. Right now, there's no jobs. I was like, I'll worry about that later. Get me in the academy. Get me in this academy, and then we'll go from there. I wasn't confident that I would do exceptional. I am proud of how I did, but I knew that I would just deal with whatever I had when it came. But I did want to graduate. Turns out I graduated near the top of my class. I'm not going to say it was number one.
Yeah.
It was in the top, but there was no jobs. There was zero. And that is an exaggeration because there was one.
Gotcha.
But I say zero because one is essentially like zero. There was hundreds of people applying for one job in Clovis.
Gotcha.
Nothing in Fresno. Nothing in Sheriff. And then there was stuff on the coast or hours away. And I was like, well, I came here for my son. So those aren't options. So essentially, and honestly, I probably even just botched my opportunity for that one shot in Clovis because I had so much crap going on with my custody battle. I probably botched an interview or didn't call somebody back. I didn't get that. And then that one job got filled, actually by a good friend of mine who is still on the force, and I'm happy for him. And he made it on in that one spot in that year.
Cool.
So then this was, you guys are going to like this. So I had like no money now. I was like, all my savings was just like, by the way, the police academy is not paid for unless you're sponsored. And I was not sponsored.
Right.
So I did 6 months at no money, no income. And so I just was burning through that plus the legal fees. I was like, yo, man, we're getting a little light here. So I couldn't get like a job. It was like even hard to like get a Domino's delivery job. So I took something in Visalia. It was probably the worst job of my life. Not because I hated it, which I did, but because it was such a mismatch. It was biofuels research technology lab assistant. So I figured, it was perfect with my military special ops background, my top secret security clearance, my English degree, and my personal training experience. No, it was totally like opposite everything. I somehow got the job, but it was like Chinese to me.
Yeah.
It was like, what? Huh? I remember my first day in the break room getting ready for orientation. Another guy comes in. He's like 50 years old. I'm like 40. I'm still thinking I'm 30. He's like this, older 50-year-old guy with a beard. And he was like, yeah, man, I almost didn't make it in today. I was out of fuel. Good thing I was able to make my own diesel before he came in. I was like, yeah, I was okay. I didn't need to make my own diesel before he came in.
This is who I'm working with.
Okay.
Right. So bottom line is they were going to fire me. I did a month driving to Visalia every day at 4 a.m., getting there for 6. So left at 5, got there at 6. And within a month, I knew I was going to get fired. So I was like, damn, what am I going to do? And I was like, right when I had like probably my lowest bank account amount, I quit the job because I knew I was going to get fired within a matter of a week or so. And that's when I decided I was going to do the one thing that I knew I could frickin' do, and that's effing train.
Train people.
And so I put an ad on Craigslist. Meet me at, I can't remember the name of the park. I think it's Railroad Park in Clovis.
Oh, yeah.
Meet me at Railroad Park for a $20 workout. You know, ex-military, special ops, this or that. And I got a person to show up. And I got a phone call, got a couple phone calls, and started training people at the park.
Wow.
I
And
like
then
that
what?
part.
Well,
I'm just
then
listening at this point. I'm like, what's the next story?
go.
this was, I want to say February. This was February, kind of a cooler month than here in Fresno. And I was like, okay, I got the ball rolling. I quit that stupid job I was about to get fired at. We're up and running. I got business cards. And this is official. I'm Paul Watson, personal trainer. And I'm rolling along. I'm getting like a couple of $100. February, March. I mean, in all honesty, that's like not really any serious money, though, to pay bills. But I was moving.
Yeah.
And then it became May. And working out at the park in May.
A little toasty, huh?
In the evening. And I was like, yeah, I've been in Fresno now for a couple years. Or I guess now it was only like 1 year. I was here last summer. I remember what these summers are like. So I better come up with plan B real quick. So I ended up at a CrossFit place. And I'm thankful for them. I was like, yo, I don't want to do CrossFit. I mean, no offense. But I was like, I want to do my own thing. Can I just pay you? And they said yes. So I appreciated that. CrossFits are notorious for no ACs, swamp coolers.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie. I love working out in the heat. I'm that guy.
I've seen it.
Fort Irwin is just south of Death Valley. I went there plenty of times in my military career and trained in the middle of the afternoon. I love training in the heat. But I'm not stupid enough to be like, yo, Sean, go ahead and give me $500 and now let's go work out in 100-degree heat and have you be like, hey, thanks, Paul, but I'm going to go work out at this, air-conditioned place. I mean, I can try to man you up and blah, 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 hardcore, everything else, but it's just dumb business. It just wouldn't be the smart move. And I was like, I got to be smarter than this. So I'm not going to do the heat at CrossFit. I need to get everybody. I need to get the hardcore athletes, and I need to get people that are just starting out. Fresno asthma. And as it turned out, my very second client, who I'm still friends with today, had really bad asthma. And we were working out in a CrossFit swamp cooler in June. And she was like, okay, Paul. And she loved me. But it was like, I'm going to kill this poor gal. And, or, I mean, sure, we could toughen you up with the heat and at the same time, just lower your workout. Instead, I would rather put you in air conditioning and ramp up your workout. And so that was my total mentality. So this gal who has really bad asthma loved hard training. She wasn't looking for something soft, but I did need to go really, really soft with her in this CrossFit facility. Yeah. And I was like, this is bad for her mostly, but it's just dumb for business, and it's not good for her long-term solutions. So I don't know if I should mention the gym that gave me a break. I guess I will. Fort Washington Fitness. The owner is no longer with us.
Right.
But back then, I called him up and I said, "Hey, do you take independent trainers?" He said, "No." So I was about to hang up, and he said, "Why?" Well, why do you think, right? But in that second, as I was like hanging up, there was a pause, and I heard him say, "Why?" And it was a very inquisitive, like he really wanted to know. And I was like, well, because I'm an independent trainer, but he was open to it. And he was going through some turnover personnel-wise.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, we don't have independent trainers. But come on down, let me meet you. Went on in, and he's like, yeah, you know what? We don't have any independent trainers. But I'll let you do it. Just don't tell anybody. I was like, really? He was like, yeah. Just he may have even charged me. I don't know. But he was like, yeah, it'll just be our deal.
Wow.
I was like, wow. So that's what I did. I started training people on the down low at Fort Washington. And then the manager kept on eyeballing me. And she was like, she called and she was like, I know what you're up to. I was like, look, I'm not trying to. And so that all came out. And turned out he let her go, let me stay. And I continued on my gym,
Okay.
my training. I was just an independent trainer at Fort Washington.
Cool.
And then my custody battle I won. I ended up with 50% custody, which is
nice.
all I was
That's
asking for.
That's impressive.
Good.
It's all I was asking for.
Good.
It was 2.5 years, and the stories are actually hard to believe, like a Lifetime movie gone bad. But anyways, I won my custody battle, got my son, and slowly, but I ended up going bankrupt, losing everything. Got my car repossessed. I mean, I was moving my business along, but personal training is hard. And that's why personal trainers have other jobs. But it's you don't make a lot of money as a personal trainer unless you're really good. Turned out I ended up being really good, but initially it's not a lot of money, and the legal fees are really the big problem. If I didn't have those, but I ended up going bankrupt, car repossessed, and at some point not having a place to live. So it was pretty dark, and it was a short bottom, although it felt like forever. In fact, the slide was forever. The slide down was forever.
Yeah.
The slide down was a 2.5 year slide down. Actually, 3 years. Yeah, actually it was 3 years. I won my case. I was still at the bottom. But I was climbing. I was starting to climb back up, and then I slowly started climbing. But it was a very long slide down. Yeah, and then but I was getting clients. It's just I had all these bills, and so I just kept on building them up, and I kept at it.
Where'd you stay?
With friends,
Yeah.
and it was a short period where I didn't have a place.
Yeah.
I don't want to over dramatize anything there.
Yeah, short or
But-
not. I mean, that's not
Yeah.
a fun place to be.
And
That's
you know,
tough.
riding around on your bicycle was a little humbling. I mean, going into the military at 30, going into Navy boot camp at 35 frickin' years old is extremely humbling.
I bet.
Riding around on a bicycle that you got off Craigslist for $35 at 42 years old is even more.
Yeah.
I love that. That's
Driving
even better.
over to Fort Washington Fitness on my bicycle, parking it in the bike rack, and making sure I had a bike lock because I didn't want to get that sucker stolen.
Because you know it will be. Because you do live in Fresno
Going in
now.
to see my client, and you want to know how much I charge my clients?
I don't have a clue. When are we talking? 2012? Or no? Right? Yeah,
What'd you
2012.
charge
$100.
for a session, or
Yep.
Okay.
$100 a workout.
Okay.
That's good, isn't it?
That's really good.
Yeah, I was like,
Nobody
I feel-
charged
I
that.
feel
Yeah.
like that's really good.
Nobody
Okay,
charged
okay.
that. Yeah, I'm worth every penny, and I got executives, doctors, CEOs to pay it.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, and I would kick their ass every session, and I'm great at what I do. Sean can tell you, or he knows.
I believe it.
And so
I told
it
him a
is.
little bit.
I can
I'm-
can feel it.
I'm great,
You
and
can hear him when you park your car.
and they got results, and then I got word of mouth, and so I did build up the business from there, and that's that chapter.
Okay.
Okay. So stuck with it. You're at Fort Washington Fitness, and then I mean, I'm assuming Warrior Fitness comes here at some point. where
There's an
you're able to-
amazing story there. So I loved being a trainer. I did think about a gym. Of course, I had, I'm just scraping by month to month.
It's definitely a better business model, I think.
Yeah, but I was just scraping by.
Yeah.
I was making money, but still. But somewhere in there, I was bartering with a guy to help me build a website. And he's like, hey, man, I don't want your training, but my wife probably could. And I was like, okay, yeah, man, you help me with the website. I'll hook up your wife, man. I'll kill her. She's fine, man. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with someone else, proxy.
Okay.
Yes.
And so her name was Lisa, and she was great. I don't know how much I want to get into this, but she had a sister who also hired me too. And I'm just going to say her sister, she and I, really didn't see eye to eye. She hired me. And we didn't really see eye to eye, and we didn't connect in the training. And I'm telling this story not to put anybody out or anything, but it's so amazing that it happened this way. And so her sister, we parted ways. I parted ways with her. I was like, hey, I can't, even though I needed the money, I was like, hey, I don't really want to.
A little too much.
Yeah. And so Lisa would come back to me and be like, at some point she's like, hey, can my sister join us for a workout? I was like, okay. Well, at one day, and I love saying this because I really thank God that I thank God for her sister. Because her sister said to me, and actually I'm sugarcoating how well we didn't get along. We did not get along.
Even better.
But her sister respected me, and I respected her too. It's just training-wise, I did not like her in training. And I didn't like her in a setting. She was just, anyways.
Go run laps over there. Go.
She said to me, Paul, you ought to do a boot camp. You're great at instructing people. And I was like, yo, I'm not doing any dumb boot camp. No, but thanks. I just laughed. And she was like, okay. Next week, Lisa showed up again. Lisa's sister said, hey, can my sister show up? I was like, yeah, sure. And she was like, you had to do that boot camp. I was like, I'm not doing a boot camp. I swear to God, it must have been like a month of her hounding me. And I was like, fine. This was like the end of the summer, July. I was like, you want to maybe meet next week? Just pay me $200. And if you and some of your friends want to get together at Railroad Park, we'll do a group workout. And
I'll kill you.
Because I used to go to Lisa's house with interchangeable weights and a jump rope and maybe a Bosu ball or some crap I'd just drag with me.
Yep.
And so that's all I had. I didn't have anything else. I was like, I'm just going to bring my one set of dumbbells, right? I'm trying to save money to buy another jump rope. And it's like, so I figure out what to do when I get them all there. So there was like 7 or 8 gals. Maybe one of the husbands showed up, and I just killed them all. And I killed the husband that showed up even harder. And they just loved it. And they're like, can we do this next weekend? I was like, sure, okay, $200.
Absolutely.
Instead of $100, $200. And I was like, hey, I'll do it for $200. And then they're like, okay, how about next weekend? I was like, sure. And so we started building up. I was like, okay, we're getting too big. They started recruiting more of their friends. We're getting too big for Railroad Park. Let's go to Buchanan Stadium.
Oh, yeah.
And so by the end of August, we had 30 people out there. And it was like, Paul, this is amazing. And I was like, thanks. I know. And too bad we can't continue it in the winter. And I was like, yeah, too bad. But I'll hit you up next spring. So fall came. School went back in session. A lot of them were teachers. And the winter came and closed down the boot camp. And next fall, this was, I think, right around the time I had no car. Yeah, this was right around the time I had no car. I was on a bicycle. Yeah. That winter, I got a truck, an old, beat up
That probably felt incredible after
1997 Chevy Silverado.
Yeah.
Nice.
The guy wanted $5,000. I had $3,500. Pulled out the cash, showed him the money,
Deal.
and I was like, "This is all I got, brother. I don't even have enough to get it registered. I'm just going to drive it home, park it, and I'll figure out the rest next week. This is all I got." And he gave it to me,
Wow.
which is a great deal for a truck.
Yeah.
No problems.
Yep.
So I was like, okay, I got my vehicle. We're going to do a stupid boot camp. I'm just lowering myself. It was like so humiliating to me because boot camps in my mind are weak and just soft, dumb training. Oh, we're going to do jumping jacks and I don't mean to bash fitness things. But it's not what I want to do.
Yeah.
But I'm going to do it. I got to help people. I want to help a group. I got a vehicle to help people. It's my personal training, but not everybody can afford $100 a workout. So I'm going to do this boot camp, and I'm going to call it a boot camp. So we started a boot camp, and that spring at Buchanan High School athletic field. And we started it in June, and a couple people came out for it. I opened up a Facebook page. First time I opened up a Facebook page was probably 2012. And opened that up, 2013 I think it was, yeah. And I started recruiting, put a picture of myself up there, and I got a couple people to sign up. It was pretty good, money-wise. Nothing phenomenal. And then we got the summer heat, and we met 3 times a week. Sunday night, Tuesday night, and Thursday night, because those are the nights that I had my son. Because the other nights I had to go to the gym to work, and I couldn't take my son there. So I had my son, and my son was cool with going to the boot camp.
Yeah.
So he was like 5, and he was loving it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a perfect age.
Yeah. So I could take him along, and all the parents loved him.
I bet.
So it was great, and it worked for me. But the summer definitely was a negative on membership. Being out there at 7 o'clock, think about it, tonight at 7 o'clock, going out to Buchanan Athletic Field.
Yeah, it'd be hot.
I'm good.
Yeah.
So
it didn't really go too well.
So we have a few minutes left. How did you get from where you're at to work? How did you get through the door?
So I kept the boot camp going every summer.
Summer still.
Yeah,
Summer,
and
okay.
then I just was like, the winters, I hated closing down, so I would rent space from other gyms. And other gyms were just, they kind of like did sleazy stuff to my members.
Got it.
And I was like, I got to get my own place. And so next year, and thankfully, I just kept on going up. It wasn't a skyrocket, but it was a real slow, steady.
It was up.
In 2014, I said next fall, in the spring of 2014, I said next fall, I'm going to rent a warehouse. And so that year, I had my best year ever. And so warehouses would have been a disaster. I ended up getting a place that is mind-boggling to me now when I think back 10 years ago, what I was thinking of, how good the place is. It's at the corner of Cedar and Nees, amazing location. And it was, and I had like, all I got was enough to get the gym floor, a couple of weights, a couple of sleds, a few barbells, and a rower. And I opened up.
Let's go.
And from there, I can't say it took off. And like I said, it's amazing that it even like succeeded, because, yeah, I mean, nobody really opens up a gym like that.
And that's where you've been going on 10 years.
Yeah, 9 years, almost 9, not quite
years.
9.
Okay,
So you're the guy that we can hear yelling from our car window when we're getting gas that's like
I'm
300 yards away. It's like, is that Paul
mean,
over there? Yeah, it's Paul.
I'm
Everyone
pretty
knows Paul.
motivational, but in a good way. I mean, all my members love it. And
It's the best.
Yeah, it's motivation and encouragement that really that just does the job. Yeah, I don't ask anybody to do something that I know they can't do, and then I know where people's limits are. I have a extremely good talent at recognizing where people's limits are.
Yeah,
I've seen your energy,
and then
it's awesome.
And then your limit is much lower than where it really is. Your perceived limit. Let me just rephrase that. Your perceived limit is so much lower than what it really is. I know where your real limit is.
Yeah, my observation is, these pods are getting easy because I just sit back and
right?
I'm like just listening.
I knew it was gonna be like this.
I'm
today.
just soaking it up. Like, I think that, I guess I missed the part. I mean, I'm sure there was some. You mentioned a dark place at one point, but ultimately, like, he reminds me of Sky. Minch.
I knew you were gonna say Sky.
Yeah, like
just adapt and go. Adapt and go.
Yeah. You don't. There's like it's like there's no time for pity.
Yeah.
It's just like I know my skills, and here's the situation, and I'm sticking to my guns, and we're gonna find a way to make it work. And like, even a Craigslist ad, I just have to say, you've used the word humility. I just think that nothing was below you.
No.
And you
because I'd already been to the bottom,
and you never felt too good or like, there's zero entitlement. It was just, hey, this is what I love doing. I'm going to do what I love, and I'm going to find a way to support my son and support my, myself. And if that means riding a bike, it's riding a bike. And then I liked from there, you said it was slow, steady. And whether it's getting a truck that was $5,000 for $3,500, and then getting that little gym space. I'm sure the gratitude along the way was, enormous with each little step you took.
And it still is today.
Yeah,
the value of you being able to find what you were passionate about and recognizing that right off the bat and running with it. I think that paid dividends.
I am thankful
down the
for
road.
that. I am thankful for that.
Doing what you're passionate about is so important. It's a lot of people. I'm just learning that in the last few years, and like this is what I need to be doing.
Well, good on you. And
great story.
Warrior Fitness. Anyone. That's listening. You get this is a good 1 hour. I think they get an idea of what you're like. And
we help everybody, fitness levels.
Yeah. Everyone.
Beginners.
I've seen everyone in there.
We got people coming off like medical cancer treatments.
Yep.
Yeah. People that are even obese, and it doesn't matter. People can't do a push-up when they start. That's not uncommon. But I build you up.
Yeah.
And there's no shame in anything. It's just about, well, do you want to get better? And here's the pathway to do it.
Yeah, there it is.
Incredible story.
The energy is high there.
And good for
I love
you.
it.
And congratulations on everything.
Thanks, Paul. We really appreciate you joining us today.
Yeah,
Thanks, Paul.
It's been my pleasure.
Awesome.